Very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Yuki Pasha. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
President launches National Tree Planting Program with Grade 1 students. All events at schools suspended until further notice. Ordinary level students on holiday from the 17th. MPs and ministers to receive COVID-19 vaccines from tomorrow. Decision to provide vaccines to the general public as well. 4 Muslim Congress MPs reveal the reason why they voted in favor of the 20th Amendment.
Muslim Marasiru Bhumidana Karanda Dena Kela Porondindamai Api Sahavi Dunne.
Court of Appeal issues notices on Minister of Sports and the Executive Committee of Sri Lanka Cricket, including the chairman. Myanmar military government threatens protesters with up to 20 years in prison if they obstruct armed forces.
Starting off with your lead story for tonight, the Kakuluturu Udane Tree Planting National Program commenced today in Gampala under the auspices of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The event was held in line with the entrance of Grade 1 students for this year.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived at the Wimala Dharma National School in Atabage, Gampola and registered the name of a student and marking the entrance of Grade 1 students to schools for this year. The President commenced the Kakuluturu Udane National Program by planting trees with children. The aim of this program is to encourage the 350,000 students who enter schools from all corners of the island every year to love nature and to grant a secure environment to the children of the country, adhering to the Sustainable Environment Policy that was introduced under the Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor policy statement. Under the Kakuluturu Udane National Program, 1.7 million plants including jack, breadfruit, coconut and mango will be planted in the coming 5 years under the supervision of children.
Notices have been issued on the Minister of Sports and officials of Sri Lanka Cricket to appear before the Court of Appeal on the 15th of next month. Now, this was after a group of former Test cricketers and civil society activists filed a writ petition regarding the new constitution of Sri Lanka Cricket.
Notices were issued on the Minister of Sports and the Executive Committee of Sri Lanka Cricket, including the President of SLC, after a writ petition was filed at the Court of Appeal seeking to prevent the degradation of the sport of cricket by highlighting the need for the passage of a new constitution for SLC before the next election. The petition was considered today before the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Arjunobe Sekara and Justice Maya Dunne Korea. The 12 petitioners are former chairman of the Interim Committee of Sri Lanka Cricket, Siddharth Vettamuni, former Test cricketer Muttaya Muralidharan, former administrative officer of the Interim Committee of SLC Michael Tissera, retired Justice Salim Marshoof, President's Counsel Dinal Phillips, Dr. Palitha Kohona, former presidents of the Interim Committees of Sri Lanka Cricket, Renzi Vijay Tilaka, Vijay Malalasekara and Anand Punchiheva. Former Vice President and Secretary of the Interim Committee of SLC, Kushil Gunasekara, and former Sri Lankan High Commissioner to Australia, Somasundaram Skandakumar, and the former Chairman of the Board of Investment, Thilan Vijay Singha. In the writ application, the petitioners point out that the current constitution of Sri Lanka Cricket allows political and external parties to adversely influence the administration of the sport. The petitioners point out that to prevent this situation from aggravating, legal changes to the constitution must be effected before the next election of SLC. The petitioners have requested the Court of Appeal to order the respondents to take the necessary action to this effect. Minister of Sports Namal Rajapaksa, President of Sri Lanka Cricket Shammi Silva, Vice Presidents of SLC Ravin Vikramaratna, Jayanta Dharmadasa and Tilak Vatuheva, Secretary of SLC Mohan De Silva, the Treasurer Lasantha Vikramasinghe, Executive Committee Member Ashley De Silva and the Executive Committee of SLC have been named as respondents in the petition. President's Counsel Sanjeeva Jayawardena and Dr. Milhan Mohammed appeared for the petition and were instructed by Sudat Pereira Associates.
Moving on, the Secretary to the Ministry of Education has instructed all provincial, divisional and zonal directors of education that all school events have been suspended until further notice. A communique issued by the Ministry of Education stated that any preparations to host events at schools too should be suspended until further notice. Now, the communique issued by the Ministry of Education further says that everyone should be careful and vigilant about the health and safety of all school children and teachers at present against the prevailing situation of the country. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education has decided to grant a study leave for students sitting for the ordinary level examination on the 1st of March this year. Moving on, a decision has been reached to begin the vaccination of all members of Parliament from tomorrow.
Sri Lanka received 500,000 doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine donated by the government of India on the 28th of January this year. Frontline healthcare workers and members of the Triforces were the first to be vaccinated. Sergeant-at-Arms of Parliament Narendra Fernando said that parliamentarians will be vaccinated at the Army Hospital located in Narayanpeta. He added that the inoculation program will be carried out for 4 days. Meanwhile, with the details coming to light on the extension of the time period after which the second jab of the vaccine should be given, State Minister Dr. Sudarshani Fernandopulle said that the number of people included in the inoculation program could be increased.
Initially, the second jab of the vaccine should be given 4 weeks after the first jab, but with new details coming to light, we have decided to provide the second jab of the vaccine 10 to 12 weeks after the first jab.
Commander of Sri Lanka Army General Shavendra Silva said that the inoculation program for members of the general public was launched today under the instructions of the President.
His Excellency the President has already given instructions to commence the vaccine to the population from today onwards. With that, the most likely those who are interacting with the public, the workers who are interacting with the public, and also those who are facing high risk will be vaccinated starting from today, beginning with the western province in Sri Lanka.
Meanwhile, the world continues to be vigilant on the spread of the new COVID-19 variant identified in the United Kingdom. This new variant of the COVID-19 virus was discovered from Kent, UK on the 14th of December. This new variant has been identified in Sri Lanka as well.
Many of the cases identified were among those who came to Sri Lanka from overseas, including the Middle East. By now, the UK variant has been found in 80 countries. Although a majority of these cases of the new variant are from overseas, we are investigating whether a few cases identified from Avissavella and Hanmella are linked to this variant. We are still investigating as to where this came from. The danger of this variant is that it spreads much faster. One patient can spread this virus to a large group of people.
Can the spread of this new variant in Sri Lanka be brought under control?
It is very easy for us to control the spread of this virus because we do not need to impose laws and control the spread of COVID-19. But if we are not able to do that, we will have to impose various laws to do that. But so far, the Ministry of Health received an immense support from the general public in reaching our goals. So I kindly urge the general public to continue to support us in combating the COVID-19 pandemic in the country.
Moving on, President's Counsel Salia Piri said that depending on the availability of the vaccines, those involved in the administration of justice, including members of the judiciary, lawyers and support staff, should be provided with the vaccine.
In a letter to the Minister of Justice, President's Counsel Ali Sabri, President's Counsel Salia Piris highlighted that lawyers and those involved in the administration of justice face a greater risk of contracting and transmitting the COVID-19 virus. He stressed that vaccinating those involved in the administration of justice would be a notable measure to ensure the continued functioning of courts and thus be an important step in ensuring the rule of law. President's Counsel Salia Piris had requested the intervention of President's Counsel Ali Sabri as the minister in charge of the subject.
With that, let's toss over to a short commercial break. Do stay with News First. We will be right back.
Do your online shopping now with Sambole.lk to get it home delivered or pick up on your way.
Sambole.lk.
Welcome back to the news. Reports have surfaced that India's Bharatiya Janata Party, or the BJP, had plans to extend its influence to Sri Lanka and Nepal. Now, this revelation was made by the Chief Minister of Tripura, Biplab Kumar Deb.
Deb claimed that when Amit Shah was the party president, he had shared plans of having BJP governments in Nepal and Sri Lanka during a meeting in Tripura.
তো এমনিতে কালো চা খায় মানে কালো কফি ব্ল্যাক কফি খাচ্ছে আর বলছে বলে আমরা বলছিলাম কে জানে বললো আমাদের মধ্যে অজয় জম্বালে बोले अध्यक्ष जी बहुत स्टेट हमारे पास अच्छा हो गया अरे काहे अच्छा हो गया अभी श्रीलंका बाकी है नेपाल बाकी है मैंने उस आदमी को बोलता है ये तो क्या ना जिसको बोलता है ये तो हो गया देश का तो वो तो कर ही लेंगे श्रीलंका है नेपाल है वहां भी तो पार्टी के लेके जाना वहां भी जीतना है तो जार मध्य एमन जोश एमन मानसिकता जहां पूरे दुनियाते भारतीय जनता पार्टी के निये जेते होबे और उनार राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष काले ही भारतीय जनता पार्टी दुनियार सबचेয়ে বড় পার্টি হয়েছে যেটা কমিউনিস্টের অহংকার ছিল দুনিয়ার মধ্যে সবচেয়ে বড় পার্টি কমিউনিস্ট পার্টি আর সেই পার্টির অহংকার ভেঙে ভারতীয় জনতা পার্টির তৎকালীন অধ্যক্ষ অমিত ভাই সাহেব প্রমাণিত করেছে দিয়েছেন যে ভারতবর্ষের মধ্যে না দুনিয়ার মধ্যে সবচেয়ে বড় পার্টি কমিউনিস্ট নয় ভারতীয় জনতা পার্টি দীনদয়াল উপাধ্যায়ের পার্টি শ্যামাপ্রসাদের পার্টি
The Indian opposition CPM and the Congress demanded immediate action against the Chief Minister for his most undemocratic speech against sovereign countries like Nepal and Sri Lanka and called for an investigation into his claim about Shah planning to capture power in neighbouring countries. Under fire over Deb's comment, the BJP said it has been spreading Indian culture and philosophy in different countries.
We saw the manner in which a senior member of the Bharatiya Janata Party in India said that the BJP will be formed and expanded in Sri Lanka and they will be involved in Sri Lankan politics. This is just like a virus which enters the country. It is India that controls the political landscape in the estate sector. It is India that controls the TNA. Prabhakaran was created by India. It was widely discussed across the world as to who was behind the assassination of Premadasa. When President Gotabaya Rajapaksa was preparing to bring forth the 20th Amendment, we asked him to prevent dual citizens from entering Parliament. What is clearly seen by us now is that the BJP is gearing up to come to Sri Lanka and carry out their political agendas. If the BJP comes to Sri Lanka and obtains a considerable number of votes from the estate sector and from the north, with a massive amount of money and with the support of RAW, we won't even have a temple in this country, let alone a port. We will have to fix the Indian flag on our vehicles. We will have to celebrate our Independence Day on the day that India celebrates their independence. We will become a colony of India. That is the situation that will be present in our country after the Bharatiya Janata Party comes to this country and gets involved in our politics.
ඉන්දියන් යටත් විජ කොලනියක් බවට පත් වෙනවා. ඒ තත්ත්වය තමයි ಭಾರತೀಯ ජනතා පක්ෂය මේ රටේ දේශපාලනය කරන්න අහපස්සේ ඇති වෙන තත්ත්වය.
Now India is announcing the formation of a branch of the BJP in Sri Lanka while they are trying to seize state power. Meanwhile, Basil Rajapaksa has announced that they are in talks with the Communist Party in China to try and establish a similar party through the Podujana Peramuna. There are traps everywhere. On the one hand, after the East Container Terminal of the Colombo port could not be handed over, talks are being held with India to give them the West Terminal instead. A decision was taken at the cabinet meeting held on the 8th of February to reconsider the EDCA agreement. This is to keep India in a favourable position before the sessions of the Human Rights Council. Then it was decided to give the islands on the other side to China. They recently took a loan of $1,500 from China. So against this backdrop, the problems of the people in Sri Lanka are increasing. What the government should do is listen to the demands of the people of Sri Lanka. Instead, the people of Sri Lanka and their demands have been set aside in these efforts to gain the allegiances of the world. As a result, Sri Lankan politics could face an even more serious crisis in the future.
මේ කරන දේවල් වලින් ලංකාවේ පවතින දේශපාලනය මීටත් වඩා දරුණු අර්බුද වලට ඉදිරියේදී ගොදුරු විය හැකියි.
මේ බලපෑම අපි දකින්නේ හුදෙක්ම ඇමරිකාව ඉන්දියාව හරහා අපිට කරන බලපෑමක් විදිහටයි. ඒ බලපෑම ඇතුළේදී ඔවුන්
We see this influence simply as America exerting pressure on us through India. Through this influence, they are threatening on the one hand and they are manipulating the present leadership of our country. Therefore, after looking at this issue, especially at the time of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, all the forces in this country were totally opposed to people with dual citizenship being given the right to go to Parliament and to run for office, including at the presidential election. However, that positive feature of the 19th Amendment is removed and the 20th Amendment allowed the dual citizens to go to Parliament and also to seek election at the presidential election in order to govern the people of this country. In that struggle, these patriotic forces were set aside by ministers like Vimal Veeravansa and Gamman Pilla. In particular, was that the president was sensitive in his appeal. This created the background for an American agent, Basil Rajapaksa, to enter the parliament and engage in politics, which otherwise he was unable to do. On the other hand, we think that these national forces, including Vimal Veeravansa and Gamman Pilla, are representing this camp and they are now suffering the consequences of their willingness to pay heed to the sensitivity of the president. This is why Vimal Veeravansa has been attacked continuously over the last few days.
මොකද විමල් වීරවංශර දිගට හරහට බැට කන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා.
The project to construct 50 estate houses in the Galle district under the Indian-funded housing program was initiated by P.R. Dipin, the Consul General of India in Hambantota today. Ceylon Workers' Congress leader Jeevan Thondaman and Minister Ramesh Patirana were also present at the event.
ඉන්දියාව ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ විශ්වාසීය මිතුරෙක්. නිවාස අංශයේ අපගේ සහාය ශ්‍රී ලංකාව සමග අප පවත්වාගෙන යන විශේෂ සම්බන්ධතාවයට නිතුසුණා. නිවාස අංශයේ නිවාස 63 දහසක් ඉදිකිරීමේ ව්‍යාපෘතියේ 50 දහසයකට වඩා නිවාස දැනටමද ඉදිකර අවසන්. අද මේම අවස්ථාව එහි තවත් එක් පියවරක්. ඉන්දියා නිවාස සම්බන්ධන ව්‍යාපෘතියට අමතරව අප දකුණු පළාතේ ආදර්ශ ගම්මාන වැඩසටහන් යටතේ නිවාස 1200ක් ඉදිකිරීමට සහාය කරනවා.
අපි විශේෂම ඉන්දියානු රජයට අපි ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා.
We are especially thankful to the government of India. When Minister Thondaman was in office during the tenure of President Mahinda Rajapaksa, we spoke to the government of India and got 4,000 houses. When Prime Minister Modi came to Sri Lanka, when the government changed, Prime Minister Modi gave us another 10,000 houses. India is our closest friend. They helped us with a special program for Sri Lanka.
ඒගොල්ල ඉන්දියාව ලංකාවට විශේෂ වැඩපිළිවෙලක් අපිට උදව් කරේ. බල මේ නිවාස ව්‍යාපෘතියට විතරක් නෙවෙයි.
Not only this housing project, but a significant amount of 300 million rupees has been approved for a program to provide smart classrooms for schools in the Galle district under the Indian Aid Scheme.
Moving on, General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Pulujana Perabuna attorney at law Sagara Karyavasam says that the leader of the National Freedom Front, Vimal Veeravansa, must apologize for the statement he made.
Vimal Veeravansa Matituma, undoing the mistake Vimal Veeravansa made is his responsibility. It is his duty. We believe that he should be ethical, even though he is under the impression that he can insult us through his Facebook lackeys and not apologize. We don't believe in that. Our political morale is different.
පක්ෂ නායකයා මොකද්ද කියන්නේ කියලා මම අහන්නේ පක්ෂ වෙන ඒක එහුව සාධාරණීකරණය කරනවාද නැත්නම් හරි පොඩ්ඩක් ඉවසලා ඉමු කියනවාද මොකද්ද කියන්නේ පක්ෂ
නෑ පක්ෂ නායකයා අද වන No. Up to this date, the party leader has never told me to withdraw a statement I made. As the secretary to the party, my statement was made on behalf of the party. My statement was made on behalf of every party member, including the party leader. Making such a statement and the Prime Minister attending an official event with a minister are two different matters. If an attempt was made to correct themselves on social media or to attack anyone, they were done through the fundings of certain people. This is our stance. As a party, we have the backbone to call out what is wrong.
නමුත් අපි අපේ ස්ථාවරයේ ඉන්නවා. ඒ කියන්නේ වැරදි දේ වැරදි කියන්න කොන්දක් තියෙනවා අපිට පක්ෂයක් හැටියට.
Meanwhile, Minister Vimal Veeravansa, who appeared before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court today, left without speaking to the media.
Meanwhile, 4 representatives of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress made the following revelations regarding why they supported the 20th Amendment to the Constitution at a press briefing held recently.
Sri Lanka Muslim Congress Parliament Mantri අපි හතර දෙනාම 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනයකට අපි
The four of us who are MPs from the Muslim Congress supported the 20th Amendment on the promise that they will allow burials for Muslim COVID-19 victims in Sri Lanka. We discussed this process with the Prime Minister, but since some members of the government didn't agree with this, we didn't receive the support for this.
විරෝධයෙන් ඉන්න නිසා ඒක අද වෙනකන් අපිට මේක සහයෝගයක් අපිට හම්බුන්නේ නැහැ.
After the Prime Minister spoke regarding this in Parliament, I thanked him. The Prime Minister didn't say anything at that moment. Some MPs from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna are against allowing burials. I condemn it.
සමහර මන්ත්‍රීවරු භූමි දාන්න ඉඩ දෙන්න අවසර දෙන්න එපා කියලා දැන් ඒගොල්ලෝ කතා කරනවා ඒ පිළිබඳව අපි කියලා දකිනවා.
Although the press briefing was convened to apologize from the nation for supporting the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, as per the decision taken by the High Command of the Muslim Congress, such an apology was not expressed during the press briefing.
I saw that the High Command of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress said they supported the 20th Amendment because they were promised that COVID-19 burials will be allowed. The burial of COVID-19 deaths and the 20th Amendment are two different things. We like to tell the SLMC not to mix these two up. You sold the sorrow of the Muslim people. The best scene of this drama is when the two leaders are standing on one side and the group is voting for the other side. That can't be. At the end of it, one minister shamelessly said he voted for the 20th Amendment because of Basil Rajapaksa. These people can't be forgiven. If you love the Muslim people or even the country, we appeal you not to mix up religion and politics. Replying to a question asked by MP Marika, the Prime Minister stated in Parliament that burials will be allowed. We appointed a committee to decide whether this should be allowed or not. We will allow it. We are attempting to respect everyone's traditions and find a way to peacefully coexist in this country. Some people are hoping to create an issue out of this.
සමහර අයට උවමනා කරලා තියෙන්නේ මේ රටේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති කරන්න. ආණ්ඩුවේ නායකයා හැටියට අගමැතිතුමා
When the Prime Minister, as the leader of the government, makes a statement such as this in Parliament, the statement made by the Prime Minister is recorded in the Hansard. We also saw Imran Khan, Prime Minister of Pakistan, who is expected to arrive in the island soon, who saw this message from Islamabad to thank the Prime Minister on Twitter. We don't know who is acting against the Prime Minister from within the government and manipulating MPs. Who is this unseen force? We expect that the official statement made by the Prime Minister will be enacted.
ඉදිරියේදී ආණ්ඩුව ක්‍රියාත්මක කරයි කියලා අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ.
The Court of Appeal today ordered the director of the Colombo South Teaching Hospital and its judicial medical officer to suspend the last rites of the body of a 26-year-old man attached to the Kotalavala Defence University. The deceased has been identified as a COVID-19 patient following his sudden death. The order was given by the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Arjun Obesekara and Justice Mayadune Korea, considering an appeal after a resident of Trincomalee stated that a PCR test conducted by the Kotalavala Defence University after the sudden death of his son, who was in good health, revealed that he was infected with COVID-19. The individual had filed a petition seeking another PCR test as he had strong suspicions about the report. The bench also ordered that a notice be issued to the director of the Colombo South Teaching Hospital and the medical officer of the court to appear in court tomorrow to comment on the death. President's counsel Faiza Mustafa appeared in court today on behalf of the petitioner.
Now, while political parties debate to consolidate power, this is an inquiry into the problems faced by the general public of Sri Lanka.
Consumers complain of a shortage of samba rice at Satos outlets, cooperatives and other shops in Colombo and surrounding areas. Certain shops did not have nadu rice as well. Instead of samba rice, these shops had ample supply of Supreme samba rice. However, Supreme samba rice was being sold at over 140 rupees a kilo.
I went to 5 shops and they did not have rice. They only had basmati and kiri samba sold at 150, 200 or 250 rupees. People like us do not have nadu or samba rice. They said there is rice at Satosa and cooperatives. They did have rice on one day. After that day, there was no rice anywhere.
වෙනවා බඩු ආවොත් මිනිසට හම්බ වෙයි. නැත්තම් නෑ.
We are waiting for rice. They say that there is rice in the country, but when we ask for rice, they say that they don't have rice. The cooperatives do not have rice, so how can they find rice elsewhere? They say we will get rice tomorrow or the day after, but we still don't have rice.
Rice mill owners don't release rice stocks. Instead of taking actions against these large-scale mill owners, it is unfair to do these actions against innocent vendors like us.
ඔය කියන්නේ මොල්කාරය කවුරුත් දෙන්නේ නැහැ මේ සම්බා. කීරි සම්බානේ නඩ වෙනවා. කියන්නේ ඕඩර් එකක් දැම්මොත් එකෙන් කාලක්වත් දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
මේ පාලන මිලට තමයි තොග දෙන්නේ. තොග කඩෙන් ගේන්නේ අපි පාලන මිලට. ඉතින් අපි මොකද කරන්නේ කියලා? අපි රුපියල් 5ක් ඇත්තේ කරනවා.
පිරිවැය රුපියල් 100 ගාණක් වෙද්දී
When the cost of production is about 96 rupees, how can we sell a kilo of rice to the consumers at 100 rupees? Is the treasury going to reimburse the losses caused to small and medium scale mill owners? That is why we are asking for the price of rice to be reflective of the price of paddy.
ප්‍රකාශයටපත් කරන්න.
ලබන මාසයේ මැද වෙනකොට මහ පරිමාණින්
By the middle of next month, large-scale harvesting will start. When the paddy starts coming to the hands of the farmers, the price of paddy drops. But has the price of rice reduced? No, it has not reduced. This is the issue here. There is a shortage of rice. The people have to pray to God to get their rice. On the other hand, they are scamming the farmers by reducing the price of paddy when the farmers reap their harvest. And on the other hand, when the farmers do not have their produce, they increase the prices of rice and scam the general public.
And with that, let's toss over to a short commercial break. Back to the news. Fishing vessels and equipment of several villages including Thoduava, Barudalpula, Moderavella located on the coast of Maravilla have been destroyed due to sea erosion.
The fishermen claimed that the sea had been rough since last afternoon, and by this morning the sea waves had come ashore. This is the second time in a month that the waves had come inland on the northwestern coast. According to our correspondent, waves had come inland about 100 meters in certain areas. Meanwhile, fishing boats have been swept away due to rough seas off the Kalido beach in Kalutara.
Meanwhile, the national organizer of the JVP, Bimal Ratnaik, expressed his views on the state of the environment at a conference held yesterday.
What did the Rajapaksa regime do at the election? There were rumors that the Vilpattu area was being cut down. President Gotabaya planted trees when going from meeting to meeting. What has happened today? I say with responsibility that Gotabaya Rajapaksa is the head of state who ordered the greatest amount of environmental destruction in the world in the year 2020. He ordered that 800,000 acres of forests should not be considered as forests through one gazette and one pen stroke. About 7,000 acres have been sold to companies in Mutturajavela. Boards have been set up by these companies. We saw a minister in the government dozer the Ramsar wetlands. Now President Gotabaya is going to a village today is like 100 dozers going to a village. Why cut down the jungle? The companies want land today. Today the government is cutting down hundreds of thousands of acres of forest and giving you 5 or 10 acres to dig up, isn't it? The bigwigs have received an order to cut down 62,500 acres in Ampara and to give it to Avantgarde and other big companies. What will the politicians do when it is cut down? Why use the poverty of the people as an excuse and give 90,000 acres to the big shots of the country and just 10,000 to the little people? As of now, the establishment of a wild elephant management reserve has been proposed in order to reduce human-elephant conflicts in the Hambantota development process. However, this reserve has not yet been gazetted. Today is the 30th day of the Satyagraha that villagers began in the Valsapugala area demanding that the gazette be issued. These protesters today visited the Mahaveli Superintendent's office in Mayurapura in Hambantota. Locals pointed out that traditionally owned and cultivated lands are also being prepared for inclusion in the Wildlife Elephant Management Reserve. At the same time, they alleged that an attempt was made to seize land by force. Locals today urged the Mahaveli officials to issue the relevant gazette notification, considering their demands as well.
අක්කර 10 ගාන සුද්ධ කොල්ලලින් තින්න තියෙන භූමිය. මේ ඇලගාවේ ඉඳලා ගොන්නරු පාට එනකන් සුද්ධ කොල්ල මාත්‍රෝ. එතකොට ඔබතුමාලගේ අත්හැරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් අපිට මගේ ගොයියම තපාන්නේ කරන්න බැරි වෙනවා මේ දැනට එනකොට. මීට වඩා දරුණු වෙනවා මේ ගොයි. ඔබතුමා මුනිවත රකින්න එපා. කැබිනට් එකට අද යොමු කරලා තියෙන්නේ ඒකේ මායින් නිරෝධාට පස්සේ මේව කරන්න.
Although a discussion was held with a group of 6 farmers, it ended with a promise to hold a discussion with the relevant authorities within the next week.
A leopard caught in a snare in the Chapelton estate in Bogavanthalava had broken free and escaped to the wilderness.
In the morning hours today, a leopard was caught in a snare set up for bushmeat. Estate workers who saw the leopard informed the Bogavanthalava police, who later informed the Nallathanniya Wildlife Office. However, our correspondent said when the wildlife officers were arriving at the scene, the leopard broke loose from the snare and escaped to the Mahaeliya Forest Reserve. The wildlife officers and the residents of the area later went to the place the leopard was caught in the snare. They witnessed the leopard had preyed on a dog that was also caught in a snare. The mountain leopard was a major topic of discussion in recent months. Last August, another incident was reported where a leopard died after being caught in a snare in the Amagastanna area in Gampola. The death of a rare black leopard which was caught in a snare in the Laksapana estate in Nallathanniya also drew the attention of the country. The need for a robust solution for this issue was highlighted when more leopards were caught in snares in the months that followed. However, no practical solution for this issue has been implemented as of yet.
Toughline Limited, which is a part of the Capital Maharaja Group, was awarded the COVID-19 Safety Management System certificate by the Sri Lanka Standard Institution today. Founded in 1990, Toughline Limited is a leading packaging company in Sri Lanka. Group Director of the Capital Maharaja Group, Mr. Anil De Silva, and Dr. Nushad M. Pereira, the chairman of SLS, and other dignitaries were present at the event held today to award the company with the SLS certification.
It is a special day for the Capital Maharaja Group. Toughline Limited, which is a part of the Capital Maharaja Group, for the first time has been awarded the COVID-19 Safety Management System certificate. It is special for our clients and consumers because about 80% use our packaging. Now, without any hesitation, you can use our Toughline packaging.
Toughline packaging certification. Toughline Limited, part of Capital Maharaja organization, has been awarded the COVID-19 Safety Management System certification. This is the first time a packaging company in Sri Lanka has received this award from Sri Lanka Standards Institution. This COVID-19 Safety Management System certification is something that Sri Lanka needs to adopt today.
The main aim of this endeavour is to stop the rapid spread of the coronavirus in the country. Stop the Spread campaign is organised by the Ministry of Health. Taking a look at some news overseas, as the number of COVID-19 cases surpassed 109 million worldwide, more than 173 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine is being administered across 77 countries. With that, it's a wrap of your primetime bulletin. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Miyuki Portia, along with our sign language interpreter Brian De Cruz via Zoom. Take care and good night.